Today on PTL, the NA and EU LCS face off to find out who's best. We total up the fantasy points and take a look at what's happening in the international wildcard scene. Prepare to level up because PrimeTime League starts right now.
Turtle coming in huge with the pentakill. And Liquid's able to come up with a win over TSM.
Fnatic give SK Gaming their first loss.
Hello everyone and welcome to PrimeTime League, and just like TSM's Nexus, we refuse to go down. I'm Rivington Business the Third along with my co-host Joshua Jatt Leesman, and we have a great show for you today.
Yeah, and Riv, just so we remember, Team Liquid did eventually destroy TSM's Nexus, but we're not going down that easy. It's going to take like 26 dragons for us.
Yeah, it took them seven dragons, 2 barons, so I'm liking our chances right now. As usual, we're starting things off with some piping hot news. Yesterday, it was announced that former League of Genius' support player Crepo would make the jump back to Europe and replace Nif on Elements.
Yeah, it was really exciting news because Crepo was sitting, streaming, and casting. Yeah. He said he was waiting for a top-tier team. Guess he got impatient because Elements is like 4 and 6, right?
Yeah.
You know, but in all seriousness, I'm sorry, Crepo. Froggen and crew did take some time to get going last season. Yeah. But then they went on to win the European Summer Split and also have a decent showing at Worlds in a couple of games. That's the biggest thing for those guys is the future. And now that they feel like they've shored up some holes, Crepo said to himself, it's time to put up or shut up. So I'm really excited to see what they do. Not necessarily next week, but even in the weeks after.
Got to figure out how to open Pandora's box this time. Yeah. It took them a little time, see if they can do it again. But let's go ahead and bring in the man who can give us more information about this move. That's going to be Crepo's former co-caster. How's it going, Quick Shot?
Not too bad, Riv. I'm sad that I've lost a color caster here in Europe, but I'm glad for the potential that he brings Elements.
So Elements is making more changes and bringing in Crepo, as you were saying. What do you think about this latest player pickup?
You know what? I think it's going to be good, and I'm going to mirror the sentiment that Jatt just said. Crepo is going to bring a lot to the table. Much needed leadership in the game, out of the game, prep, picks and bans, you know, maybe a captain that the team needs. But it's not a band-aid that's going to instantly solve their problems. This is a guy that's replacing Nif, and it actually asks more questions. Will the players follow him? How long will it take? How many weeks before Elements becomes world-class? This is 2 roster changes in 2 weeks, and the rest of the squad's going to need to build the synergy, the trust, and the faith, and that only comes with time. So we need to give them a chance to prove it.
All right, well, stick with us, Quick Shot, because one of those reasons for this roster change might be due to their performance against Giants Gaming last week.
Yeah.
Elements came into this match on a 3-game losing streak, and we're probably looking for a pretty easy win here. A lot of people thought they would get it with how they showed in the beginning of the game as well.
Froggen and Shook were playing very, very well together in this game. I mean, that's generally when Elements as a team has clicked in the past. At some point, Froggen didn't even need Shook because he could just kill Pepinero whenever he wanted.
Yeah, Pepinero resting in pieces quite a few times around the map. It wouldn't be the only time he got soloed out. 606 right now as he hits that one. But him and the team, they didn't want to rest in pieces. They had more to say.
The honeymoon phase was in full effect for Elements. They had their new top laner, Kevin, 5, 2, and 6 on Cassandra, looking really strong. But that Baron steal seemed not bad enough at the time, but then people started getting caught.
Getting caught indeed. Giants rushed down to the bottom of the map. This actually happened during the Baron replay because Giants was so ready to keep the advantage going and keep the pressure on. A double kill there coming in. Very nice for Edry.
Yeah, and then the teleport in at the turret from Kevin was just so mistimed. I think if he didn't teleport there and they're willing to concede something more, they could have easily won this game, but because they all died 40 minutes into the game, they could not come back.
Next up was our BF game of the week, where the undefeated SK Gaming faced second place Fnatic. A win here would tie SK with Fnatic for the longest win streak.
But that's just not going to happen. Honestly, they weren't warding properly in this game, and they did manage to stay pretty close in gold. This was where it actually seemed like SK was going to turn it around.
They're going to kill Forgiven, right? No, baited and outsmarted. Here comes N-rated.
And boom, basically, point blank buckshots. Yellowstar's like, oh, damn, that was bad.
Head in hand instantly on that play. And they would actually head towards the top lane for Freddy a few more times. And this guy, Huni, he wants to stay off the popularity list, but he keeps giving himself a ton of reasons to be up there.
Yeah, and despite all the early kills, SK was really in the game at this point. This was probably the definitive turning point. A triple kill for Huni on this turret dive really put the game what kind of out of reach for SK.
Why is everyone so
dead?
so dead? Where'd they go? Here, the Engage coming in, and big things from Fnatic as they just make SK run for the hills.
And this fight, again, was really heavily decided by Huni's Equalizer. Forgiven was not able to get the right damage out because the Equalizer went right on top of his face. It got people low, Steelback then cleaned up in typical janitorial fashion.
He was also very, very big this game. And then it was on to a 38-minute Baron. Fnatic do a great job of cleaning this one up as SK was trying their damnedest to get something back here.
Yeah, and Steelback again there to clean up at the end of the fight. Fnatic has something really good going for them in team fights because they always find ways to clean up in these types of games. 4 Dragons, it was held off temporarily.
Yeah. This was only 4 minutes after that Baron attempt, so this game was just going continuously, very aggressive, and Fnatic could easily take these fights. SK was pretty much forced to go for broke all the time.
Yeah, Huni. I mean, the rumble in this game was absolutely out of control. Steelback, the beneficiary of many of those kills. They didn't get the 5th Dragon, but they found the fight just as good, because all that matters is the Nexus.
Yep, the Nexus indeed. A few more KDA pads there. And Reignover giving big hugs to Huni in the top lane. Another win for those guys, and they're quite excited about it as well.
Those guys win the award for being most excited in the postgame, for sure.
Absolutely. And as a special bonus, we have an extended edition of the Mic Check from that Fnatic SK game just for you.
Yes, head over to the LOL Esports YouTube channel and listen in after you're done watching PTL. Of course.
Of course. And now let's hear from Quickshot again. Quickshot, this game was SK's first real test this season. Why did their win streak get broken?
There's a couple of things here, Riv. It starts off with Forgiven actually saying that the team simply wasn't prepared enough. They apparently only had 1 day to scrim due to some technical issues, as well as multiple teams in their training camp getting sick, so that caused some problems getting ready. But one of the biggest things that SK had to deal with is their vision again. I know we keep saying it, but coming into the game, SK averages the lowest wards per minute in the entire European LCS, whereas Fnatic actually has the highest. What's even more incredible is that SK went 8-0 before they were punished. In the actual game, SK placed 99 wards, Fnatic had 168, and it was that difference in vision that allowed Reignover to completely dictate the laning phase to get Fnatic the lead, and it was that lead that allowed them to maintain control. For what it's worth, SK may have realized that their vision is a problem, because the next day against H2K, they placed more wards in a single game than they have all split long, but it is something they need to keep revising.
All right, and it wasn't only Reignover that went huge quick shot. Steelback actually had another great performance for the team.
Yeah, but only in the mid to late game, Riv, because Steelback continues to demonstrate that he is incredibly weak in his early game. If you compare across the entire split his laning phase, Steelback is a lot more like the mild and weak Bruce Banner. His average CS difference at 10 minutes is the worst for an AD carry across all European ADCs, and at 20 minutes, he's the 3rd worst. But in the game, in the late game, he just transforms into the Hulk. He destroys everything in his path. He's tied for the 2nd most kills in the entire European League. When you look at Steelback, he's the janitor of Fnatic, because when his team engages and starts the fights, it is Steelback that cleans up from the backline.
Well, we'll make sure not to make the janitor angry. Thank you very much, Quick Shot. And that brings us to our next European highlight as Fnatic look to go 2-0 on the week when they took on Gambit. And Gambit was riding a 4-game win streak at this point, but we're going up against a team that had just ended SK's 8-game winning streak, so it was sure to be a good game.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest at the start of this,
Very curious.
that was a dumb move by Reignover. Like, the AD carry was in the lane that the side of the map that he was trying to counter jungle, and Gambit makes the easy collapse down to get themselves a pretty decent early lead.
The highest risk, no reward play, if you will. Diamond's jungle, it's his. He's the king. Gambit uses the pressure, uses the advantage to make initiations like this, and they don't get many kills out of it, but you can see how much they can force just from getting a little bit.
It's the map pressure, it's the fear, it's all those intangibles that they also get on top of the double kill. Cabochard's cannon was really huge this game on top of the double kill that Kalista picked up for Pinoy. Yeah. It made their team fights devastating.
And a lot of these European games going all the way towards that aspect of the Dragon here. Fnatic is trying to stop that happening for Gambit, but they had other ideas.
Yeah, I mean, Reignover ineffective, especially against Kalista, so some questionable pick and ban choices there. But Gambit is just looking so good after such an abysmal start to the season.
They really are, especially with having to put Betsy in the mid lane. He's been showing up
I know, right?
amazingly for first times on the NALCS stage and under all that pressure.
Yep.
So Gambit is now on a Moscow 5-game winning streak. Why is this team suddenly surging, Quick Shot?
You know, Gambit as a team, they just seem to find a way to enforce their play style on any of their opponents that they've come up against in recent weeks. And against Fnatic in particular, that was by far the most dominant win for Gambit in their 5-game winning streak. They had complete map control. They had confident plays. They were intelligently pushing the side lanes and Baron, something that we hadn't seen from the team all throughout the spring split. And Betsy on Ahri did more in that one game than Nick has done all year long. Betsy will be playing 2 more games this week, and I actually think that Gambit should very seriously consider keeping this kid if he keeps up that performance. Gambit, as a team, they're just growing. It's an upward trend that I do hope continues. There are playoff spots on the line. In the spring split, there's the IEM World Championships coming up, and Gambit, we know how hungry they get when there's those big trophies and titles to play for.
All right, thanks, Quick Shot. Hang on a little bit more now as we take a look at the EU LCS standings. Despite their 2 losses in Week 5, SK Gaming still sits at the top, but not nearly as far ahead now. They're closely followed by Fnatic, the Copenhagen Wolves, and H2K, with Gambit also looking to threaten if they stay on their hot streak. And Quick Shot, since you're here representing the European LCS, we thought it would be the perfect time to settle an age-old debate once and for all. Is NA greater than EU? Or is EU greater than NA? All right, and now it is time for the battle of the century as both sides of the Atlantic put everything on the line in order to determine who is truly greater than. Once and for all. Championing the European LCS's cause is none other than Trevor Quickshot Henry, while North America will pin their hopes on David Freak Turley. You ready, boys?
Absolutely.
Ready?
Sounds good. First up, which region has the strongest team? This would be a squad that could actually advance beyond the quarterfinals at MSI. Quick Shot, you have the honors.
Well, Rivington, the European region is so strong at the moment, we don't just have a best team. We've got 2 best teams. Right now, they are SK Gaming and Fnatic. SK simply needs to fix the very trivial problem of placing more wards, and they will be a real threat on the international scene. For Fnatic, they just need a couple more weeks to settle in, adapt to some more play styles. Both of these teams are Europe's best teams, and both will do well against your North American squads and anyone else they face at MSI.
All right, Freak, who would you counter with from North America?
Well, of course, North America being the better region, we've actually got 3 great teams that would do well at MSI or other tournaments. That's Team Solo Mid, Counter Logic Gaming, and Cloud9. We just do it bigger in America.
All right, guys, let's take things down from the team level to the players and find out who is the best player in the LCS. Quick Shot?
Well, you're talking LCS. My player is the best beyond doubt. It is Forgiven. He is beyond a doubt, the best statistical player the LCS has ever seen. He's got a CSing ability that is beyond reach. He is always a threat. It doesn't matter which champion he's on, which game he's in, or which opponent he's playing. We just saw the highlight a few moments ago. Forgiven is a monster.
By far. All right, so Freak, which player can hold their own against Forgiven on the NA side?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that he's always good at killing minions who don't defend themselves. See, I'm going to mention a player who's actually good at killing other players in game. Bjergsen here is an absolute beast of a mid laner. He solo kills people in lane almost every single game. He's an absolute god. And now, Quick Shot. Before you say, oh, but he's Danish, he's one of ours. No, he chose to come to America. He'd rather play with us because we're awesome and better, so we're claiming him.
All right, gentlemen and Freak, let's move on. Which region has the best coach in the LCS? Quick Shot?
You know what? It is a healthy rivalry. NA, EU, NA, EU. You can have Bjergsen. It's only fair if we get something back. And the best coach in the European LCS is a former North American player. It's Prolly from H2K. This is a guy that has shown that he's taken a team that was a questionable challenger squad into a very real playoff contender. Mid-season roster swap, competent picks and bans, strong lanes, strong calls in game. All of it helmed by Prolly. He's beyond a doubt the best coach in the LCS.
All right, so Freak, is there a coach in NA that you can compare to Europe's Prolly?
Absolutely, I can. But first, I want to say that every North American who comes over to Europe has so far excelled, proving how awesome we are. Probably, by the way, we're claiming Crepo as well. He counts as American now. But I'm going to say Peter Zhang, the coach of Team Liquid. He took LMQ to Worlds last year from a brand new squad. They went Challenger into LCS into Worlds. He's going to make Liquid do a similar thing where they are forever fourth. Not going to happen this time. I have high hopes for Liquid here with Peter Zhang at the helm. It's going to be a great team.
And finally, guys, because this is so close, we have a bonus question. In North America, we use United States customary units. Well, in Europe and the rest of the world, the metric system is the standard. Which is better? Quick shot.
Riv, there's no question. The metric system was carefully designed by scientists and mathematicians to be a transnational means of measurement using logical base units. And as you've already said, Riv, it is now the official system of measurement in nearly every sensible country in the world.
I see. And Freak?
Well, of course the metric system is better. We had to give you 1 point to make it even a close fight, so congratulations, 1-5.
Well,
I'll
I
take
can't argue with that, but you guys can definitely argue with it. Head over to Twitter and send hashtag NAWin or hashtag EUWin to @LOL Esports and help settle this debate once and for all, or at least until the midseason invitational. Now, while you're busy spamming who's greater than on your keyboards, Freak is standing by to take us further into the Twitter sphere.
Thank you, Riv. And of course, the circumference of this sphere is measured in bytes, a term invented in America. Last week, we asked you to predict which LCS player will get the highest CS in a single game this week, and what will his final score be? The answer was Cop, an American, with CS of 511. This time, 3 of you managed to nail it and win yourselves some sweet Lunar Rebel skins. So nice work, guys. Sadly, none of you got within 5 of Cop's final score, so that means none of you will be going into the Hall of Fame this week. We do have standards after all, that is why Quickshot isn't anywhere seen here. But don't worry, because we are back with another question and another chance to earn your way into the Hall of Fame. We want to know which LCS player will secure first blood in the fastest time this week. And if you want to have your name changed, or life changed forever, and have your name in the Hall of Fame, correctly predict who their victim will be in that first blood. The time is not needed, just the killer and the victim. So tweet your answers to @LOL Esports along with the hashtag PTL. And remember, no tweeting after the fact or as it happens, because we will be watching you. So guys, with visions of first bloods dancing in your heads, your ears shouldn't be all that busy, so we're putting them to work. Let's listen in behind the scenes as the pro players raise their voices in cacophony of calls. It's time for Nice Check.
You have a fan start, Joey.
I have 3 fans. I actually signed the banner. Yeah.
Oh my god, you're so cool.
I'm famous.
And now the perfect moment would be to sing Eye of a Tiger and get into the mood.
Okay,
Can we
guys.
please?
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
It's the Eye of the Tiger. We need to. Where's our synergy, guys?
You guys suck. 3, 2, 1. Rocket! That was good.
Look, Annie, look, Annie.
No. Good drink, please.
They don't come, we can cut the way here.
Sure. Nice, man.
Yeah, we can cut
Just
the way
go
here. Go top.
Yeah, coming.
Rocket, my friend. You're a beast right now. That's what I like.
Terminamos.
Careful, no, fight! I'm up the team here,
Back.
Stop their back.
3 seconds.
TB to this!
Yeah.
Stop them!
Yeah. Vete, please. ¡Qué
Alright.
That was an amazing game. It took me some time to catch my breath after that
Yeah,
one.
watching the player cam there, Quas was a rock during all of that.
It's like we're about to
Teleport the
win.
base
This is
and
how
win.
it goes. All right, let's check in and head over to North America. Take a closer look at that game between Liquid and Team Solo Mid. It was without a doubt one of the most insane matches we have ever seen. and it only took about 12 and a half minutes to really get in on this one.
Yeah, I mean, the start of the game was Team Liquid getting themselves in position to take 7 dragons. They had a pretty big lead at certain points in this game, and it's because of nice teleport plays like this.
Yeah, really nicely done. 4-man to the bottom. A sweet little TP. Dominate and Quas had set that up with a ward behind the turret well beforehand. And Dominate and Keith with the plays throughout the game. This one with the flash smite steal to clean up TSM.
Yeah, and then after he flash smite stole, he was perfectly in range to just gobble up Wild Turtle. I mean, that was a desperation Baron gone wrong. You'd think it would be the end of the game right away.
You would think it would be the end of the game, but Turtle had other plans. He put on the shell, and he goes hard for the first Penta in the NALCS for the spring split.
Yeah, on the doorstep of defeat as well. Wild Turtle was crazy for fantasy owners mainly because he couldn't bring TSM all the way back. Amazing defense. This game felt like it was over on 5 or 6 different occasions and then kept going.
It was ridiculous. Turtle went on to get another quadra kill after that Penta, but Team Liquid was too strong. A great engage by Phoenix as TSM went for another Baron, and Liquid went for the base.
Honestly, really good patience by Team Liquid. They got the kill on a Bjergsen with Phoenix, but then didn't commit even though Lissandra was in there. It bought them time. They knew they had exposed Nexus turrets. It was 53 minutes in after all. Quas and Dominate take the game.
It was a heart-pounding matchup. We had a few games that were backdoors into the base with teleports and void rushes, but they definitely deliver, and the fans were happy about those ones too.
Yeah, and Keith was pretty happy too. That team is now 3-1 with Keith as an AD carry, plus that win over TSM.
It's true. We'll see what they can do with them this week again as well. And to talk about one of the huge fights from that game, let's send it over to Kobe and a fully operational Telestrator.
Thank you, Riv. Yes, fully operational and off of probation, so I do get to draw on it this time around. Now, the reason I want to take a look at one of these fights in the Team Liquid TSM game is because it's such a good example of the difference between hard engage and counter engage. Plus, this is a good example of what good preparation will do for your team. As you can see, Team Liquid have already set up superb vision control all over the map and gotten into position at the dragon before it spawns. This allows them to create a situation where no matter what TSM choose to do, it's an advantageous situation for Team Liquid. They either have TSM face check into a flash Tibbers, or TSM stays mid, they give up the dragon, which is number 4 for Team Liquid, and well on their way to number 5. So let's roll this clip and we'll see how it plays out. Now, Team Liquid, they're immediately going to call both members off of this dragon as TSM come into face check. Not only do TSM face check, but pause here, they also have their carries split off from the rest of the team. They're clearing this ward that you can see in the side, and they're on the other side of this wall. So they face check while split up. This counter initiation, it really depends on all of the tools being used simultaneously here. And we're going to see, as Darius is bursted down from 100% to 0, Lustboy uses everything at his disposal to try and save Darius, but he's unsuccessful, and that leaves them without the combo for their counter initiation. Now, we'll continue rolling the clip, and we'll see that Santorin also jumps back in. So this means that he has to flash out, and the entire front line is going to be gone for TSM. At this point, they're just trying to kite and salvage something from the team fight. Remember, Lustboy has no more counter initiation. That was the Cassiopeia ultimate, and now Team Liquid focus Bjergsen. The good thing is that Turtle is firing shots while TSM focus Bjergsen. Now, we're going to pause it right here. So Turtle, he has earned himself 1 kill with his ultimate, and that's going to allow him to get excited. Now, there's 2 paths ahead of Turtle. We look at one path here. This is the risk-averse path for Turtle, in which case he can use his reset to run away, try and defend the turret, and actually he even has flash. So he's definitely, this is a 100% success rate. He can get back to the turret, try and salvage something. Or he can position more aggressively in the risk-loving path. As we know, Turtle, he is going to try and kill off all of the squishy members of Team Liquid and get another reset. If he was able to do that, then, since TSM all died first, they would get back on the map faster, they'd be able to set up for a dragon and actually have vision control. Now, as we play the fight though, we will see that the deciding factor here is that Turtle did not pay attention to the short cooldowns on Team Liquid. And he had 3 charges of Pyromania, so that was 1 stun, and then he did not pay attention to the 8-second Equilibrium Strike cooldown from Quas. So they're able to lock up Turtle, get the kill, and use his flash to clean up for an entire ace, which means that there's 0 map control for TSM. So because Total went with the more aggressive move, they actually give up complete control, which means even though he killed Keith and got the 500 bounty, they also give up the turret in addition to the dragon, which means that you guys, you can go for these godly, game-changing plays, but you're going to have to keep track of all the cooldowns, even the short ones, of all 5 members of your opposing team. That's it for me. We are going to send it back over to Riv and Jatt, but I'm going to stay here and continue to draw on my telestrator just because I've missed it so much.
It's very touching, Kobe. But let's press on with more highlights from the North American LCS. This time it's going to be featuring a rematch between Cloud9 and a team who beat them back in Week 2, Counter Logic Gaming.
Yeah, this was a very interesting showdown because CLG looked so strong after last week, but Cloud9 always seems to kind of play to the level of their opponents, and this was a close game here, contesting this dragon.
Contesting it, but Zion Spartan seemed to be out of the communication on that one, and the layering of the ultimates was perfect here, like onions.
Yeah, another thing to note in this game is the fact that Cloud9 had Rumble and Zed, competitively champions. They nearly
never lose.
Almost win with every
almost
single
every time.
Never lose. Almost never lose.
Almost never, but sometimes.
You're so unlikely to see them in the game together that you just don't know what to say. The dragon control was a little bit suspect in this game, but more so the team fighting from CLG. Everyone was trying to make their own play instead of the team play.
You can see how far spread out they were, and Cloud9 just kind of stayed in the middle, rotating around, turning to the next person, as CLG got themselves into a pretty sticky situation. Sneaky, he was out of mana, but he still had flash.
Yeah, but you could still see good individual playmaking there. Link,
That's true.
Double Lift playing together at the end of the fight after they've already lost to pick up a kill. And here, CLG just tried to make the best of a bad situation.
Yeah.
But the situation was too bad.
The individual call making here by Aframu and Double Lift, as they both say, we can teamwork this, we can go for the Nexus, but looks like Cloud9 had the same idea. They can do it a little faster without Nexus turrets in the way.
The Nexus turrets are rather key, and the Baron buff as well. Teleport in from one side high, beautiful Zed plays there to dodge the Maokai route, and then be able to hit that Nexus. Good night.
Few games like that went down in the North American LCS with the backdoors onto the Nexus, and from there we head to Winter Fox versus Dignitas, but instead of highlighting the gameplay, these big plays come from the post-game interview where Kiwi Kid decided to be brutally honest.
Honestly, I'm just going to be frank. I'm trying to sugarcoating everything. Honestly, it's pretty terrible. Like, man, it's just everybody hates losing and we're not really dealing with it well. And there's like just 5 like hormonal like adolescents just like running around and we're all just like really kind of like reverse pumped because we're just losing. And man, like, I don't know if we know how to solve conflicts right. And there's language barrier that really sucks, but you know, we're like trying to go through it. And I mean, adversity builds character, I suppose, but no, it hasn't. It's definitely not been the brightest road I've been through.
That's fair. Cloud, coming into an environment like this, do you feel the same one, and do you feel like that environment can change?
I didn't think it was that bad, but yeah, I think we don't have a coach, so when we have a difference in opinion, I'll be like, this is how you do it, and Kiwi will be like, this is how you do it. But then there's no person to like settle it. So then when this conflict comes up, we just don't know how to deal with it.
Whew. Interesting things to hear from players of Dignitas, Team Dignitas. And coming into this week, we know that Cloudwin will be out as their jungler, and Zingy will be stepping in. That really shines a harsh light on Dignitas right now. You know, what the heck is going on with these guys?
I mean, it definitely feels like they're kind of out of sorts. Crumbs, Cloud9, now Zingy. They're on their 3rd jungler, only 10 games in. The remarkable thing about all this, though, Riv, for Team Dignitas, they're 4-6.
That is true.
With all this stuff. I mean, one game goes differently there, and they'd be a 500 team. Like, even though they are tied for 8th place, which would put them in like the relegation zone, we know how close they could be to the playoffs. If this is Zingy move works for Team Dignitas, there's a chance they could turn this stuff around. It is remarkable to me that with that type of team atmosphere and that many roster changes that the team is somehow winning games. I don't think they should have been with an atmosphere like that, but they have been. And that just speaks to something kind of working, even though clearly everything is
Absolutely.
not the same.
We've heard Kiwi kids say before that they definitely didn't have much guidance. Crumbs was something they tried to get out of that, but even before with Crumbs, it's not something that they had. And with Zingy being kind of an outspoken player, maybe he will deliver something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Cloud9 mentioned they didn't have a coach, but then Kiwi Kid actually clarified in a Reddit thread afterwards that Malixia has been doing a lot for them, and they've had a lot of coaching candidates, but the team itself is very picky as far as coaches go. So it's clearly a work in progress for Team Dignitas.
Well, it's the second half here, so some time to step up for them. Let's check out the North American standings now after Week 5. TSM remains in first place with CLG just one game back, and Cloud9 sitting in third.
And just behind them is a four-way tie for fourth, and even though Team 8 and Dignitas are tied for eighth, they are just one win off the playoff pace. And now it is time to check in on the Fantasy LCS teams. You can fine-tune your rosters and also find out what happened last week. I mean, last week was another week of European domination. They got the most fantasy points, surprising. North America had that one little week last week, 2 weeks ago, where they did fine. But this time it was Gambit and the Copenhagen Wolves who were in form. They actually owned 9 of the 10 top spots. Only Wild Turtle cracked the top 10 from anybody in North America. Looking at this, Freeze at 75 points. This guy's really been performing as an AD carry. Huge, huge week. And then the Gambit guys, because they play such high kill, aggressive games. Diamond with 69.3 points, huge total for a jungler. And honestly, Cavalshard at 68.6 as a top laner is another one of those things that just makes you know that they're team fighting a lot and winning. So if you had a Gambit player, you were happy. If you had one of these players, you were probably a little bit more sad. Nif had 10.8 points, not actually that far off of his average for the split of 12.6, which is a reason he's a big fantasy dud here, and he's also not going to be playing this week, unfortunately. Dyrus, 16.4 points, not a completely abysmal score, but compared to the 47 points he had in week 4, definitely puts him on the dud list. And then Kevin, it was supposed to be beautiful. It was supposed to be great, but he got 19.4 points, which is a lot of points considering the team went 0-2, but not enough to make you happy as a fantasy owner. We do have to sound some warning bells as well for the alerts, more roster changes. Crepo's in, Nif is out. If you have faith in elements, consider starting Crepo, but based off of Nif's fantasy season, the support role on that team have not been getting many fantasy points, and they do play SK Gaming in one of their matches, so beware. It is fun to start a player you know in Crepo, though. Also, Cloud9 is out. A Zingy is in for Dignitas. That's another dicey one. Dignitas is 4-6, so if you're in need of a jungler, you can start a Zingy for Team Dignitas and maybe get some points, but if you have someone else, I wouldn't recommend it. Also, fantasy sleepers, guys that I definitely would recommend starting unless you have a superstar in that role. Adewamne, he upped his point total 20 points a game last week. H2K is also stepping up. He's also only 6% started in fantasy leagues. Actually, 6% owned, 1.5% are starting him. So if you need a top laner, definitely Adewamne. Kasing is another guy who's actually third among supports last week. He got 45.7 points last week. Only 1.7% of fantasy players own him, and 0.2% are starting him. So he's not even the 1% of fantasy starters right now. He's above that, but you should start him. Betsy is still in, and after his performance last week of 58.2 points, just behind Soren of all the mid laners that he was performing against, definitely start that guy. Add him ASAP because almost nobody owns him. And I think that's going to do it here for Fantasy LCS. So let's check in with that hashtag FreakLose that we're always so happy to see. How are things going, Freak?
Well, Jatt, as you mentioned, they're not going great. But before we get into that, guys, it's time to talk about the PrimeTime League's Fantasy League of Legends Legendary League. Well, it's a sad day in League of Legends when you have to try to turn Twitter against me in order to win. I mean, look, I expected someone like Snoopy to stoop at this level, but the rest of you guys, come on. But, you know, sometimes you do all the prep work, you do all the research, you stay up late at night, and you create practically Shakespeare. And sometimes the guy against you just scribbles randomly on pieces of paper or hires a team of monkeys on typewriters, and it comes out better. Lost by 3 points. I don't know. Congrats, I guess. Also, though, congrats to Shock that she pulled off a win against Imagine Dragons and scored me some sweet, sweet revenge. And according to Twitter, 82% of you, along with me, knew that would happen. So congrats to everyone who was on my side. After that, hashtag Backstabbery, Snoopy and XPeke are leading the PTL FL4 right now, but not for long. I'll be mounting a comeback this week as I face Artie Your days are numbered, man. This week, though, the match to watch is actually between Chris Kluwe's team teaming Teemos, and he's going to be exacting some revenge for me, again, on Freddie Wong's 80 carries. So who do you think is going to win that battle? A former NFL player or a guy who appears on YouTube for a living? I mean, who does that, right? Anyway, tweet hashtag Chris Kluwe win or hashtag Freddie Wong win to @LOL Esports along with the hashtag PTL so we can track your votes and possibly ridicule you at a later date.
Oh, I wasn't tweeting.
I was. Free clues.
Well, now let's head down under and see how things are going in the Oceanic Pro League as they recently kicked off their first year of competition. Earlier this week, crowd favorite Rich Gang took on the undefeated Chief Esports Club in hopes to break that undefeatedness. And the early part of this game was pretty much Swiffer on a squiggle. And say that 5 times fast.
Swiffer on a squiggle. Swiffer on a squiggle. I couldn't do it in time. He died.
Almost had it.
Yeah.
Swiffer
on a squiggle. Swiffer.
Yep.
No, I'm already messing up.
And you've got Swiper up there too, so you might even get it.
I mean, you could tell a lot of the team wasn't even realizing he was Swiffer on a squiggle so many times because no one was really doing anything while he was roaming in that top lane. Now 3-1 start on Zed, but can't keep Squiggle down. He's just going to squiggle.
He's going to squiggle as much as possible. You can see Spooks trying to go in, and he thinks he has the ult, but he doesn't catch Squiggle. So he's free to do as Mundo pleases.
Really strange game this turned out to be. Chiefs looked like they would have been able to get control, but they just didn't find that team fight in the mid game, which really made the match sprawl.
Sprawl out, and it took about just 20 minutes, and this flank coming in on the poke comp of Rich just absolutely decimates them.
Yeah, well, you really just got to pay attention to Kalista. The Zed flanked around the back, and they shifted, just took a little bit too much damage, could not hop around. Since he went down early, and Ray Deer, even though he was on a Corki, a lesser late game carry, did not go down, eventually he was able to take down the tanks.
They got a tunnel on a Squiggle for just a little bit. He could squiggle, squaggle, zig, and zag, but they're eventually able to do it around 50 minutes. And the OPL's top team will be competing against 6 other regions this spring in the first ever international wildcard tournament.
Yes, the aforementioned IWCI is the new event this year, bringing together the #1 team from each of the now 7 wildcard regions. The teams will compete in a tournament against each other, with one winning squad representing the region at the Mid-Season Invitational, which will take place this May in North America. So, because of that, keep your eyes peeled on the International Wildcard Invitational, which will be from April 24th to 26th in Istanbul, Turkey.
That's right. And speaking of Turkey, let's jump into the Turkish Champions League. Last week, the top 2 teams faced off when second place HWA Gaming took on the first place and undefeated Besiktas Esports.
Besiktas, and look at this Jarvan early on in the game, finding so many plays, finishing off Energy right there.
He made it hard for Energy's Nidalee to get anywhere, and Theocles to do anything. Stomage was everywhere when needed to be there.
Yeah, a very interesting start to this game with Stomage, yeah, how'd you say it? Stomage. Yeah, Stomage doing some work on Jarvan, but also Theocles doing some work on Rek'Sai. Pretty powerful junglers in this game. And Besiktas tries to turn something here.
Yeah, Thaldrin, it looked like he was out of place, but it was just a bait for the rest of the team to come flying in and Besiktas to get a few more kills on this one. It takes them a bit, but they assess the fight nicely.
Yeah, even though the solo laners were not going very well, the fact that Kalista had Blade of the Ruin King and that Hurricane for this fight and was relatively untouched opened up a pretty big lead here.
And 13 minutes later, HWA, one more Narvin combo. Can it work? Not, unfortunately, it does not.
I mean, it's just too mobile. It's such a nice idea. We're going to gnar you into the Jarvan ultimate, but there's a lot you can do to play around that. There's a lot of black shields if they do catch that one person, especially solo lane Morg. You're not breaking that with Narvin unless LeBlanc also jumps in on that.
No, you're not. But meanwhile, in the Brazilian Champions League, the game of the week was a best-of-2 between Cade Stars and Kaboom Black. Some familiar names here as we see Danagorn. He gets first-blooded.
Yeah, everybody remembers Kaboom from last year. Their club was split up into 2 parts, and it hasn't been going amazingly. Kaboom Black, the stronger of the 2.
A few minutes later, this fight breaks out between the top laners to actually see who's the top dog. Looks like Skybart.
Scott Bart. Takeshi was nothing for him.
No.
I mean, this split pushing Jax was Kaboom Black's really only hope trying to win this game. With that in mind, everyone decided to kill him. And the rest of the team couldn't create any pressure.
He had his Wheaties this morning, taking everybody on a side-to-side rift journey there before he goes down. Bakid would push. They'd find what they needed in these engagements. That was very close. Emperor almost got blown up by LeBlanc, but he was able to get himself to safety, and that Lulu wall kept him safe for the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, especially against such a split push team composition, when you do have the Lulu wall to back up the really fed AD carry, it works wonders if you can group and push.
And going into game 2, one thing is for sure, these guys go hard. It's 9 minutes here, already a 2 for 2. The only thing was missing was the AD carries.
Everybody fight. Daydream, because of that black shield he got before the Lissandra ultimate, didn't instantly die, but then he sticks around like he's going to be doing something useful afterwards.
I got auto attacks, guys.
Oh, man.
Coming in big. And then Fizz and Rumble come down from top lane. This was just an extended party.
It just went on and on and on and on. Kaboom Black, though, kind of the losers of that one.
Yeah.
Seeing as where the kills were distributed.
Danagorn, still in the eyes of Daydream, kept doing it one time after the other, getting his kills. He went down for it, but the team was able to come up big, and overall, they were able to work off of these. Again, Danagorn, more like Danagon.
Yeah, not positioning in the right place on that jungle Nidalee. Definitely not the diamond level of Nidalee we have seen over in Europe, but the mid lane Morg and the Graves from Emperor were huge.
Coming up very big there. Also, we see Daydream going hard. Jarvan's got places to be. They wanted to get that game over with. Great play, and while we continue our world tour, let's head over to Asia, where the LCK, LPL, and LMS are all resuming their matches after a week off, which brings us to our BF game of the week.
Yeah, that's right. It is the two biggest teams in the LPL. First place Edward Gaming and second place OMG going head-to-head. It is the first time these teams have met this split, and it features Def versus Uzi, Pawn versus Cool. It is massive. As they would say in the LPL, Shigu Shangdang, Shijun Li Di. EDG versus OMG. Just to make sure you catch it this Thursday at 3 a.m. Pacific to find out who has the bragging rights in China.
Meanwhile, the LCK started.
I didn't say it right. I mean, I'm willing to say it. Just
it was
not
good.
Right.
It was good. The second half of their spring split early this morning with a battle between two of Korea's most popular teams. As fourth place SKT battled fifth place Najin. Always a stellar matchup to be watching.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few changes that Najin made during the break here. New mid laner and a new jungler coming in. Peanut started off well with Rengar.
He did. Getting first blood, not too bad for the debut. You got to expect that things were going to be slow, but they wanted to turn up the heat. When you're playing against SKT, they're going to want to do the same. And once Faker gets a few kills, it's not too hard for him.
Yeah, this was still a really close game, but SKT managed to get the Baron, immediately parlayed that into some kills. And when you get kills with that Baron buff, you really accelerate the game. Faker's Ezreal is always a threat.
He's sticking his tongue out at us, just playing everything he can, getting the kills left and right, and the team is able to stay on the front line as Faker stays on the back line. The rest of them clean up, and game one does go to SKT. They play that one quite strong, but Najin was not going to go down without a fight.
I'm a big fan of SKT's double AD comps when they had that AP threat in the top lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming in strong to start this one off. Can't do much for the supports on this. And a nice jump out by Bang as they trade for that. The assists obviously going over for the favor of Najin on that one.
Oh, Duke! Run away, Duke! Faker's gonna get you. Oh, he's probably safe, right? Like, who could possibly go and get
nobody?
Lissandra?
He's safe. Yeah. So the replay's over, right? Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, he flashed. Oh,
Right
he still has ultimate. So much burn there by Marin.
And Xerath ult was coming over from the side too.
Jeez, I mean,
could have had it.
If anyone could have carried this game, it could have been Marin's Hecarim. It's just the rest of the team was too far behind. Xerath was huge, and Kalista was massive. OQ doing work on that.
So big. There's been a lot of talk about OQ. Where has he been? Is he going to show up again? Definitely showing up here in Game 2 versus SKT. And this fight was definitely going in favor of Rain as he rained down pain on everybody.
I think they call this the cleanup. There's a few spells here where he only lands one spell on a dude, but he picks up all the kills. He's got 4. Is he going to get it?
Oh! Nice pentakill. You usually don't see too many reactions out of players, but he enjoyed it. He was having a good game, and they were happy to get that over SKT.
Something about making your debut in a professional league just makes you more likely to get a pentakill every once in a while.
I guess so. We haven't seen too many in the NALCS. Last week was actually our first, so it's good to see him popping up all around in the rest of the regions. We're going to Game 3 now, and it was all about putting the Duke down. There was just an assassination letter out. Take down the Duke.
Yeah, well, really good gank presence between Maokai and Jarvan, and then Faker came in to join on the party. That was a pretty big advantage.
Yeah.
And Najin never was really able to recover from that. Nothing to really keep OQ safe and allow him to free hit onto Kog'Maw. Look at this dive.
dive deep. Bang.
Unreal.
Doing what he can, blowing things up, getting out safely, face of the mountain. Support goes down, but he feels good about it.
Yep, you can see SKT kind of back in control, a very competitive series, but this last game wasn't as competitive, very back and forth. SKT does a great job bouncing back from that game 2 slapping they took.
Yeah, SKT is one of the teams that kind of size you up throughout the time that they play against you, and it's only going to get harder throughout that endeavor.
Yeah, it's a strange thing. You know, these were middle-of-the-pack teams mostly coming in, 4-3 versus 3-4. But every time they play against each other, it's highly competitive.
Great games to watch. I was going to say good games, but they're amazing. After one game into the second round robin, here are the LCK standings. The GE Tigers took to continue their undefeated run after finishing the first half with 7 series wins and no losses.
But Sedantis remains right behind them heading into the second half, now closely followed by SKT after winning their series this morning.
Now it's time for a mashup featuring the top 5 plays that made our jaws drop from around the world.
Yeah, Or's Wild Turtle could almost call it twice. Thank you very much, Dyrus. The Penta.
That's right. Coming in at number 5 is Tei's Pentakill from the League of Legends Japan League.
前に出るがテイワンコンボダウンさらにインテンション前に出てウルトゾーニャ全部切る形だ裏ではエアロが仕事をしたさあダブルキル持っていっているがエアロがここでダウンテイトリプルキルジョックにウルトでエンビーは囲んで逃げれないそこにクワドラテイペンタ今日もペンタ
At number 4, it was Frederick's Baron Steel for the win against Elements.
He's the one caught by the Dark Binding right now. Werlib is going to keep throwing the boomerang out. He goes Meganar, not hopped over the wall. Actually, Elements, they're peeling away for just a moment. Here comes Frederick. He stole it. Frederick comes up with a steal, gives it over to Werlib and Rydell, and Elements are denied the Baron.
Can't even believe that actually happened.
And coming in at number 3, Rain. Rain's on Faker's Parade with a Pentakill.
Here we go, SKT coming in, big ult. Najin locked up inside their own Cataclysm. A kill, though, coming in for Najin. It doesn't look like SKT is going to be able to do this one after all. Triple kill for Rain. Quadra kill for Rain.
Can he get a Penta?
I think he can. Pentakill for Rain.
At number 2, Wild Turtle's Penta got us excited in TSM's epic base defense.
Almost Santorin wanted it, but he knew the damage would be too much. All there up on the front line by himself. They lock down Bjergsen. Does he have anything else to say with Cleanse in the fight? He goes back for the shots onto Quas, but he's too tanky to go down immediately. Bjergsen forced to flash out. Turtle coming up big on the other end of the fight. Deja vu from the previous match. Turtle and Trippa. Turtle coming in huge with the pentakill.
And our number 1 play this week was I Will Dominate's amazing Flash
If they're able to
Baron
finish this
Steel.
off, Rek'Sai also used her ultimate. Rek'Sai is here. Not into.
Oh, the steal from Dominate! The kill! The double kill from Dominate! Keith to be there as well!
Rek'Sai ultimate, and she's able to get there just in time. Flashes up to the wall just to barely get max range. Woo! What a play.
Woo! And you know when the top 2 plays are from the same game? It was a good one.
It was a darn good game. And remember that when you see any mind-boggling moments from the games, send them to us at LOL Esports along with the hashtag the Penta. Well, that nearly closes the browser on another episode of PrimeTime League.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be complete without one final punch in the NA greater than EU, greater than NA, greater than EU argument. Today's last hit.
They want to steal back the European crown. They want to take SK's reign over the European LCS away. And heavens to Betsy, he's going to back away from that fight. Oh, Diamond in a rough position as the Tremor Sense reveals.
Trevor, I'm going to let you finish, but let's be real. Freak is the best punster of all time. Of all time. You see, what you could have said there was, I hope he has a field of rabbits, because that was a 100-carat diamond right there. But of course, I had the benefit of hindsight for that line, so I do forgive you. The art of live puns is a very distinct one. Let me show you how it's done. Sorry, Riv Freak is not here. Call me Earthquake today, because I'm after shocks.
It just seems like Team Liquid never got off the ground, which I guess you might expect against a team like Gravity.
Yeah, they're spoken pirate. R for all of them.
Nope. Nope. That was...
You're darn right. Entry number. Really?